By now, the sun is just about almost all the way over the horizon. And I'm like, this is gonna be bad, man. People are starting to come out and interact, and I see this moped with 2 guys on it. They're coming into, or up the road into the area where the objective is at, and I take my red dot laser and I put it on the guy's chest, and he stops his bike and he looks down, looks up. He can't see us, we're pretty concealed in the tall grass and stuff, and he's looking, but I just have this never forget the look in his eyes of disdain, angry, empty look, okay. He backed up, did a Yui, went back to wherever he came from. That's when the sniper, or the reconnaissance team lead, was he just said, I got a bad feeling about this.
What's up, guys? If you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and hit that like button on the video. And if you don't have time to watch this episode right now, I'd really appreciate it if you saved it to your watch later playlist on YouTube. Finally, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or X, those links are in my description below. Alrighty, let's get into it. Afghanistan, 09.
Yep.
It's your, at that point, third deployment in Afghanistan?
Fourth deployment. Oh, to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
That was my, third deployment to Afghanistan.
Okay.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah, third deployment.
Now, this is the one where, some people online who have heard you on Sean Ryan, I've heard you on Vlad over the years, I've heard you talk on some other platforms, this is where the popped off and where you became the Reaper.
Yeah, man. That was let's say, I forget the month we deployed. It had to be around March, April, May, April timeframe. April or May timeframe is when we set off on that deployment. And leading up to that, it was everyone was expecting it to be another SEAL Team 6 deployment. You're in the action, but not really in the action. So I'm telling my wife before I leave, I'm like, hey, this is a boring deployment. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's a chill deployment. We were going to a place called Kandahar, Afghanistan. And little did we know, or at that time, that the missions we were going to be doing were all in, support or in conjunction with, not with the Marine Corps. We were going into Kandahar, specifically Helmand Province, to clear that area before the Marines went in. And that big push, I believe it was late 2009. They had this big push of Marines come through to take over this Taliban safe haven area. And our mission was to kill, it was as simple as that mission set could be, was to just kill everybody. Not everybody, but every terrorist, every person with a gun, everybody who shot it, destroy them. And that was the whole mission set, was to accumulate and wipe out as many, terrorist cells and that we possibly, encounter could encounter.
How hard was it to be able to tell, though, who was a terrorist cell versus who's a civilian versus who's a civilian who's been pressured to help out a terrorist cell? So are they a terror? You know what I mean? A lot of gray area.
A lot of gray area. Our interrogating skills were pretty good. We could find out who was associated with the Taliban or who was directly, with the Taliban, and others who had been pressured. But initially going after a target, we would have the CIA guys, the intel guys accumulate this package, and they're using everything from cell phones to drones to all types of electronic surveillance and human surveillance to, figure out who was bad and who was good. They have this package, they send it off to us, and we would go execute the mission. We're going to this, location in Helmand or Kandahar, and who knows if they were really bad people. We were just told they were bad people. Who knows? But once we got there, it was pretty evident, they were up to something. They had, tons of guns. We would, normally get into some pretty good shootouts with them. A lot of bomb-making materials. Mainly that. We were going after a lot of IED makers, a lot of bomb makers during that deployment. In the presence of, landmines and remnants of the Soviet era landmines. They were all out there in the field. And a lot of the guys, like I said, we were going after just made bombs, just made IEDs and facilitated different foreign fighters. and we were like hammering those guys pretty hard. But once we got in, on target, you would find out quick who was bad and who was just like, hey, I'm just here,
And a lot of the you're going into like villages, so to speak, like in the mountains, right? That's pretty much what it is.
Somewhat. Helmand Province was a lot like if you could imagine. Damn, it's kind of hard to describe what this area looked like. It was Afghanistan, less mountainy, more desert, but just a bunch of small one-story huts and homes. And you had your tribes in there too, like your little sections of who was who. But it was I don't know. It was there you go. That's what it looked like. Less mountain.
Oh yeah. Okay. So almost like yeah, it almost feels like Vegas, but in Afghanistan.
There you go. Yeah. That's exactly what it looks like.
Dude, that's good.
Now try.
That's funny.
Helmand, Afghanistan. HELAM or MAND.
Yes. So some of it's going to remind you a little bit of the urban feel of Iraq.
Yep.
Okay.
That was a brutal place. That was the most deadliest place in Afghanistan in 2009.
Why? Why?
Just
think that was?
Untouched for so long. Most of the coalition forces focused their missions and their operations like what part of Afghanistan was that? Dude, I forget. I just know it was not in Helmand Province. It was a lot of it was like a Taliban safe haven at that time, 2009. Most of the coalition forces, their operations were in other regions of Afghanistan. And for some odd reason, and then you had the huge opium trade going through Helmand.
Yeah.
It's like 98% of all that ends up in the United States came from there. 98%.
How'd that make you feel?
I don't do so I didn't feel like anything. I was just like, man, this is kind of weird and strange how they're, pulling in that much from the place that I was at, 98%. Anybody who in America who's ever done that, it's like it came from that area. And that's how it was funding them. So I was a little pissed that people who were abusing or are using back stateside, I was like, man, you guys are directly funding the war in Afghanistan, like whether they knew it or not. Like that paid for their guns, their bullets, their RPGs, everything. So that was kind of like hard to, I guess digest, and you saw it, like they fought the hardest I've ever seen people fight. Like these guys at Helmand were a different level of beast. Tough guys.
How so? Like just like
they wouldn't quit. They wouldn't quit, and they were not scared to bring the fight to you. They would definitely bring the fight to you, and they were not afraid to die. Death was not their concern.
I would imagine you captured some prisoners along the way.
Oh yeah.
Like what would they say? Like, was there something that was just different about them and talking to them afterwards?
Yeah. This one guy flat out said like F you, asking him questions, and after being captured, he wouldn't talk. He was just a hardcore fighter. And most of those guys over there were just hardcore fighters. That's where the worst of the worst went at that time, during that time. If they were not in Pakistan by then, they were in Helmand Province. And they were tough, man. Tough. Different mindset. They were just not afraid to die. They were not scared of U.S. soldiers, or they were terrified of our dogs, but that's about it. They look at dogs as rats. So
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They hate dogs over there. So it was
what's the deal? Why the dog hate?
I don't know. And everywhere you go in Afghanistan, there's like a stray dog somewhere barking.
That's what I'm saying. I always picture the dogs around in these towns. Like,
they're rats. They're considered like rats. How we look at rats in the U.S. is how they look at dogs over there.
They don't eat them, do they?
I don't think so.
All right.
I don't know.
That'd be a bridge too far for me.
Yeah. I never smelled cooking dog. Luckily, while I was out there, they ate a lot of chicken and.
So you know
goat.
what cooking dog smells like?
No.
Good answer.
Right. In today's society, course I don't know.
Oh my God. How would they even though, like, I think about this all the time because you'll see some of these pictures with soldiers standing in front of the poppy fields.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy. But during this time, like, how were they so easily able to get it out of there? Considering we have presence.
Exactly. I don't know. I've heard weird stories too. I've heard of
Please do tell.
Yeah, like this Marines guarding opium fields at one point. Heard about that. I've never seen them. But I did ask we would be deployed with like sometimes FBI, HRT guys, DEA, and guys from different agencies and whatnot. And I remember asking, or the question got brought up, how is all the getting from these little fields to the United States? And I think they were going through China at one point. They would do their stuff, however they procure opium or poppy, whatever. They would ship it through, I think, China or something. And from China to here. I'm not sure, but I think that's how their trade went. Weird, but I don't know.
But even getting it into China, who's like a geopolitical rival of ours.
Yeah.
Crazy. And yeah, I mean, you're right. That's how, like, with the trade, it's all emanating from there.
Yep. It's weird. It's almost like, I don't know, my conspiracy side says maybe we might be facilitating some of that.
To what end?
To bringing it over. To some, I guess, pharmaceutical grade, but I think other is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why pass up on all that money? If I were the government and no one trusts me because of the things that I do, the questionable things that I do, one of the questionable things that I would do is be involved with the drug trade. It's a lot of money to be made off the books, tax-free, off the books. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a backstop too, like even in the legal pharma industry, because you look at like the Sackler family and what they did to society. It's the same. It's the same drug. It's right. So whether someone's taken or taken, it's all the same thing. Yeah. One just operates behind the veil of a legalized company. Yeah. The other one has to be, slide that shit under the table.
And now all of a sudden we have this big, crisis going on in America. And a lot of that stuff comes from there. So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. It's weird. But they definitely, they got bank off of it.
Oh, yeah.
They made a lot of money off of it. And it's supplying a lot of their weapons and equipment too, but primarily we were going after those guys, and that was fun. It was scary at points, and mainly like the threat of IEDs. The firefights over there, they sucked because it was hard to see, like exactly where it was coming from. Afghanistan or Iraq was like some face to face, like 2 feet away, 3 feet away, but then you had the issue of 1 minute this guy is shooting at you, the next minute you turn your back or you look to see where it was coming from, and it's like I can't tell who within that crowd was shooting at us. They dressed the same. There's, it was weird in that aspect. But Afghanistan, it was just it was like fighting Ghost over there, big time. So luckily, being able to work at nighttime, and when we did do our operations at night, not one-on-one, but we would go after very specific groups of people in a very specific location. And if that entire location is deemed hostile, like no one's really going to make it out of that alive. I forget how many. I think we set the record this deployment for the most kills in like a few months. It was close to 2,000, but we did a lot of damage over there. A lot. Not just my, it was the Ranger Battalion. Not just my platoon. So he got 1st, 2nd, 3rd platoon. Putting the hammer down big time. Whoa. Close to 2,000 kills. That might be on the internet. I'm not sure. Army Ranger.
We can pull that up.
Oh, yeah. Army Rangers, it's like 1,900 something kills. Something like that. And that's not all by bullets. Like there was a lot of ordnance dropped. We dropped a lot of bombs when we could.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
How far had drone warfare come at this point?
it was very one-sided. The only like the there we go.
Oh yeah, we have the single Ranger Battalion deployment leads to 1,900 terrorists killed or captured, several Valor Awards. The first Ranger Battalion's members ran 198 combat missions that resulted in 1,900 terrorists killed or captured in the most recent deployment. And
that was for this one, yeah. Mine, we got 1,700. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, there's just a bunch of details about that. That one was from like 2019.
Yeah, that's the different one. That set of...
Type in Nick Irving on the end of that. Let's see what we get.
You might find... Oh, you probably... What is that? No, I was going to say... It was the deployment where I got an award for, and I would put Sergeant. You had to put Sergeant Nicholas Irving Valorous Award. It was that deployment. I forget.
Valorous Award?
Yeah.
It's a sick name.
That's what they call it. I don't know if it was valorous. It didn't feel like it at the time.
Why not?
I just dropped some bombs on people and shot a few people. It wasn't like a big deal at that time.
Got it.
It was what was that? An ARCOM, Army Commendation Medal, I believe, with valorous device. Yeah, but no, it didn't feel valorous at the time. It was just dropping bombs on people.
Business in a way.
Yeah.
But you were, before we were looking that up,
Yeah.
you were talking about the drone warfare being one-sided.
I think it, like back then, they had drones, or we had drones, but it was just for like Hellfire missiles and stuff like that. I never heard of, or mainly surveillance. I'd never believed or heard of a drone like dropping bombs how they're doing now. Or are you talking about the drones where they fly them and blow people up with them? Yeah, I've never, no. That wasn't until like I had a drone way after I left the Army. I had that DG.
You were blowing people up after the
No.
Army?
I had the one you can buy from like Best Buy drone.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, somebody could strap a bomb to this and
Yes.
that would be, insane. And lo and behold, that's like all warfare now.
Yeah.
I would be scared to be in a war with drones. They could do that as opposed to like just being in a gunfight with someone.
Right.
Big time. I think that's way more terrifying.
Because they talk about the George W. Bush didn't have access to those till like the end of his presidency.
To what?
To drones, to call in strikes and stuff. And then he started using them pretty heavily. Then Obama used them and Trump used them, and it's just kind of continued. Like it's a major part of, like maybe the most major part of like warfare strategy these days. Just drop a drone on them.
Yep. I don't know. It takes I don't know. I think it definitely changes like the atmosphere of how we fight wars now. And it reduces, I guess, the risk of losing soldiers' lives, but
Collateral damage.
Yeah, but it's just a weird way of fighting a war, I think. I think it's I'm not gonna say it's cowardly, but it's not. It's just a weird way of fighting a war now. Of a guy can sit behind a desk and just didn't blow somebody up. It's just a weird way of fighting war. But there's no different than being a sniper. It's like, I get the luxury, if I want, hiding in a bush and someone has no idea. So it's and if you ask, depending on who you ask, like back in the Vietnam War, they looked at them as like a coward's way of fighting. Snipers. Yeah. And even way further back than that, like the Revolutionary War, they were like highly looked down upon. Was it the Revolutionary War where
How
the
far
redcoats
could they shoot back then?
with the muskets? Not too far, but they would hide out in the tree line and pluck people off. From,
what was that guy's name? The swamp fox or something like that.
Oh, swamp fox.
Yeah,
dude, are you talking about? Oh man.
That's the dude. He's one of the three people they based Mel Gibson's character in The Patriot.
Got it. I think it is. I think you're right. Was it Swamp Fox?
Yeah.
Why does that sound so familiar? I might be thinking of...
Can we look that up? Swamp Fox Revolutionary War?
When you say that, I'm thinking... My mind goes to when I was a kid playing Metal Gear Solid. And there was a guy, I think, named Swamp Fox in there or something.
Swamp Fox, might be it, yeah.
Francis Marlin. There you go.
Francis Marion, yeah. A South Carolina militia leader known for his guerrilla tactics against British forces in the swampy regions of the state, earning him the nickname due to his elusive and cunning fighting style. And his nemesis was the British dude who they based
No idea.
the other guy in the Patriot off of, the British guy with the long black hair ponytail. I forget what his name was, but yeah, that's probably, I would imagine that makes sense what you're saying, because it was viewed. The British were very into like warfare. We do this correctly by the book, and then you got these fucking Yankees going.
Nope,
not today.
Nope. But I think that's a smarter way of fighting a war, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to line up and have you shoot at me with your muskets and then I return a volley. No.
It's so stupid.
That's very stupid. Very stupid. But
it's like, who's gonna lose? It's just attrition.
Yep. You
know.
Yeah. Dumb way. I mean, yeah. It's a stupid way of fighting a war, I think. If I were back then, I would want to be like a swamp fox. So it depends on like how your definition or what your definition of a coward in war is, you know. I guess it changes throughout the way we fight wars. Back then, he was a coward. Vietnam snipers were cowards, and today we look at drone guys as like not a coward. I'm not going to say coward, but it's just a weird way of fighting a war. Like you're not there, you know. You can just press a button and use a joystick, and life's ended. It's weird. You know,
eventually war may and probably will be like AI. You know, it just gets weird. To your point, you're just talking about the evolution.
Yeah.
And it's like anything else. As we see new things come on, what's one former generation's cowardly fight is a current generation's only fight.
Gotcha.
It gets real weird. I feel you.
Yeah. Who knows what war is going to be in the future? I hope it's not AI.
I hope it's not either.
Because we'll lose that. I think we'll lose that. But yeah, Afghanistan was I didn't see too much of the drone stuff. We only used drones for like surveillance.
Okay.
But as far as the fighting goes, it was for the most part, I guess you could say one-sided. It didn't start getting sketch, or I felt like, man, I'm gonna die. Until after like midway through that deployment, we were going after a high-value target. And it turned into like this 5-day operation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was lucky to be on that mission, but I also I was way too cocky to be on that mission. Like I probably, not going to say I shouldn't have been on it. I was just the only, it was another sniper team. They just had way less experience than I did during that deployment. And I was the only team with the amount of operations under my belt. So these reconnaissance guys, they were like, hey, you want to come do this mission with us? And they presented me with this problem of if a car was coming down an alleyway straight towards me at like 1,000 yards away, could I shoot the driver? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But just no, I knew I could have not done it. I just said yes to go on the mission. And I thought that the odds of that happening were extremely slim. It was like, that's not even going to happen. I don't have to worry about it. And it didn't happen, but that's what allowed me to go on this operation with these guys. And 5-day operation. The first 3 days, we were embedded with a Marine element. They were getting ambushed every morning from this schoolhouse, this abandoned, I'm going to say abandoned, it was a bombed out old school, Afghani school. And every morning these Marines were getting ambushed, and because of their rules of engagement, they had to, I believe, like wait until they got hit before they could start. That's how most of the military was back then. And our rules of engagement were different, you know? And like, can you guys come out with us? And
that's crazy that one part of the military has a
Yeah.
different rule of engagement than another.
Yeah, dude, I first experienced it in Iraq during a convoy. So the regular Army guys from 10th Mountain, I believe, 101st or 10th Mountain, they would ride up and down this strip of road, and every day they would do it, they would get ambushed. And their rules of engagement, their SOP, standard operating procedures, were to just blow through it. And they got tired of it. So they came to our compound and they knew our rules of engagement. They were like, hey, can you guys help us out? So we dressed up like them, put their patches on, rode in their vehicles. But it was just us. And we rolled through, and lo and behold, we got hit. And instead of us blowing through, I remember them, like, they stopped firing because we stopped our vehicles and turned all our 50 cals towards them and damn near leveled, like, this place. It was a small apartment complex, and it was full of Iraqi fighters, and we killed a lot of dudes that day. Dropped, I think, 2 500-pound bombs on them after we all went dry on ammunition. Helicopters went dry on rockets and bullets, and their pilots were doing strafing runs, like hanging out the helicopter, shooting up this like an apartment building. Killed everybody there, and they never had that issue again. But their SOP, their rules of engagement, they weren't even allowed to do that. So, and I encountered it again with the Marines in Afghanistan.
How much of that is also like, there's such a fog of war too, that sometimes can you even figure out if you broke the rules of engagement? Because it might, after the fact, it might feel impossible to know.
Probably. I mean, ours were so much like, it was cut and dry for us, you know? If we felt that our life was in danger, your life was in danger, or someone else's life was in danger, like, it would authorize us to shoot.
Right.
And, like, if you did not have a good head on your shoulders, it would be easy to tweak that, you know? Oh, it was in fear of my life, so that's why I shot that guy, you know?
But we'll come back to the 5-day story, because that's really like that part of your book hit me right between the eyes. I mean, that was like, whoa, I felt like I was there. But before that, you come back to Afghanistan, you're thinking again, all right, you know, not going to be that much going on. I'm here for 3.5 months.
Yeah.
And immediately you and your partner Pemberton get put into some sort of HVT situation where you got to take action right away. And I guess at that point you're like, oh, this one might be different.
Oh yeah, the very first mission we went out on, like within 24 hours, a few hours, not even a few, but within 24 hours of being in country that first day, me and him and the platoon were out on an operation, and we killed 3 people that day. I killed 2, he killed 1. And from that day on, it was just like, wow, this is weird. Of like, Afghanistan's not supposed to be like this, you know, where, you know, you're engaging targets like that.
Where were you shooting from on
top of a rooftop? Yeah.
And how far away?
About 300 yards. Most of my kills came from on top of rooftops.
And what were they doing? Like, because you had to identify that they were obviously enemy combatants.
Setting up an ambush. So they had your little RPK machine guns, AK-47s, and they were skirting this tree line to set up an ambush spot where we were about to get picked up from, have the helicopters come in. And I think we were exfilling some captured personnel that we had captured on target. Me and my sniper team, we broke off from the element and got up on a rooftop to overwatch the guys as they're exfilling off the target, about to get picked up, and we were going to be the last guys on. And as we're watching, we can see these guys in the tree line. I spotted them and kind of was like, man, I must be tripping, because I see this guy with the gun, and he's got a gun, and he's got a gun. And it was just a weird blur. The first time as a sniper about to kill someone. So I was like, no, there's no way. Called it up and got permission to engage, which was not even...
You had never sniped anybody, because the first kill in Iraq was machine gun.
Yeah. Every kill after that was M4 machine gun. I had never killed anyone with the sniper rifle before. So, yeah, lined up on the guys, pulled the trigger, and start dropping them. And it was just a weird, surreal feeling of, holy shit, it's different than shooting someone with a machine gun. It was more personal, more just one bullet, you know, just one bullet. And normally it was multiple bullets. You know, prior to that, it was, you know, you're shooting people anywhere from like 2 to 10 times, depending on, you know, what's going on. But yeah, it was different just putting a .308 round, like a deer hunting rifle round, into another person. And what it looked like, it was more devastating. It was just a different experience, yeah.
You're also like watching through the scope
Oh,
too,
yeah.
so you see it, and it's got like the half a second delay, so you see.
I see everything. You see everything. You see everything. At that distance, especially. Yeah. You see enough to make it seem like, oh, wow, that was weird. That was not weird. It was just a different experience, you know? And they don't have a clue that you're out there. Maybe they do. Maybe they did, that they saw us on a rooftop, but they don't think that they're going to get plucked from that distance. I don't think so. They didn't seem like it. They were just like, where's that coming from? And we're dead. It's pretty quick.
And then you had another one shortly after that, right? That was the first 24 hours, and then they came right back?
No, I was killing or getting in engagements like almost every few missions or so. Every few missions. The guy after that, well, the ones I remember, I was on a rooftop and I shot this guy in a blue like man jammy dress, and he was running away from this. I had no idea at the time I was on top of a mosque. I just knew that the roof was different. It was like I didn't know, and it was like a bad deal too. It was a very flat, sturdy roof. Everything prior to that had been, you could fall through the rooftop, and some of them had no rooftops. It was just an opening, and I just knew this rooftop was different, and it was sturdy and really solid and sound. And I saw this guy fleeing from underneath me, and he was running towards our blocking position point, and he was doing the whole suicide, deal. And our guys in the tree line were shooting at him. They were missing. They popped off some like 203 rounds to try to deter him, and he was still hell-bent on doing his thing. And I remember lining up. I got to a knee, lined up, and the first shot I took missed. I just got pissed at myself for missing a shot like that. Second shot lined up on his back, and I remember pulling the trigger, and by the time the recoil went down, there was no person there. And I got the call up of, hey, he's down, and then they went up, investigated the body, and took the pictures. But I remember his mom crying from inside the mosque. That like really stuck with me. I remember that one. I remember the guys on the rooftop. We were going into, shortly after I killed the first two guys, maybe you're talking about this one. We were going into Helmand province, and as soon as we stepped foot like within inside the city perimeter, we just started getting ambushed, just lit up from this rooftop. And there were, 3 individuals up on the rooftop lined up and shooting at a downward angle at our element that's like, we're just trying to march through the city, and they're ambushing us from on top of the rooftops. And I remember me and my spotter lined up, and I go to engage, me and him both, and his gun goes click. It didn't go off for some reason, malfunction. So I just had the opportunity to clean up that rooftop, and that was an experience. That was like the only headshots that I took, because that was the only thing that was exposed. I was never one to like shoot people in the head. It was just a smaller target, and it always moves around. The body's broad, and even for a small Afghan male, they're skinny and frail, but it's enough to, it's different than the head. I didn't like shooting people in the head. But yeah, I took care of those guys on the rooftop, and it felt like every 30 minutes after that, we were getting ambushed. And there's another book that a guy I was on that he became a sniper after I got out. His name's Paul Martinez. Me and him were on that deployment together, and he describes it like every 10, 20 minutes we were getting ambushed. We're calling in, A-10s, we're calling in Apache helicopters and mortars and all types of stuff to help us out with that. But I think that was what you're talking about. Like shortly after my first mission is when I got the guys on the rooftop. Then after that one was when I got the guy in the blue man dress. And then I got like 5 or 6 in one day. Shortly after that.
This is all within like a couple weeks. No?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
that. My point was, you know, you're coming back to base and you're like, holy shit, we're getting hot spots every time.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not a baseball guy, but the first time I had ever heard someone refer to like baseball to me was another platoon sergeant. He was like, dude, you're batting 1,000. Had no idea what that meant. I was like, you know, he's like, every time we're going out, you're killing somebody. I was like, wow, yeah, I am. But I didn't think of it like that at the time. It was weird. It hadn't like set in yet and how rare it was for a sniper in our platoon, or as a ranger for that matter, to even kill. We're more so like intel guys, if you want to call us that. Like we're just saying, hey, I see someone here.
Right.
There's guys here. Rarely do we get a chance to shoot. So it was weird for other people, I think, to see that.
You talk about the one example when you're on top of the mosque and you hear the mom, and that sticks with you because you just took the guy out. Now it's like, look, you're not out here shooting little kids or anything like that. The guys you shot were bad guys.
Yeah.
These were guys who were doing bad shit, and those are shots that, looking back on it in hindsight, you take 11 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
But you're still extinguishing a human life. And you're doing it now at a, for you and for many people, unheard of volume after these first few. Is there ever a moment when you're back at the base, you know, a couple weeks in, where you're like, shit, that's heavy? Or like, you know what I mean? Like where the gravity of it is almost as if you're second guessing, like, well, were all of them bad?
Yeah, I don't think I ever thought that. I think this is going to sound weird, but I was getting like addicted a little bit. Addicted. And back then I didn't look at it as, I don't know. Back then it was just like, wow, this is cool, you know? And I like it. Maybe too much. And will this stop, you know? How long? Because I didn't want to continue an Army career like for the rest of my life or nothing like that. But at the same time, I also did not want to stop doing that. But that's the only place you can find it or do it was in the Army, continuing to do the job career that I had. But no, I never like thought about how, there's a few times I thought about how heavy it was. And that was just mainly like from bad dreams and stuff. But right after the fact, it was more so of guys wanting to come over to me and look at a picture that, hey, who'd you shoot or what happened? And you know, you have the pictures and you look at the pictures and stuff like that. But it was getting to be a problem, I guess. Yeah. I got in trouble for keeping a picture and hanging it up above my bed at one point. It was the guy in the blue man dress.
Is that the guy you'd get the dream about?
No, that was the first guy I ever killed with the 50 cal on my first deployment. This guy just had a picture up on my bed. I don't know why. I don't know why, man, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think that's when, I don't know.
There's some sort of subconscious there.
Yeah. That was the only time it got weird, I guess. But as far as like feeling anything, I always had that roller coaster ride of emotions of joys, excitement, happy, and what are we doing, you know, or what am I doing? What is this for? Like, I'm going to kill this guy, and then tomorrow I have to kill another guy and 2 more guys after that. It's never going to end. And then you just kind of, I question that. Like, what is this for, you know? Because every time I did, I felt like it was a piece of soul being taken away from me. Like I just carried this strict, robotic mindset or emotional state where I'm just like, kill, and no emotion whatsoever. No, it would hurt sometimes, you know, or I felt like a piece of me was taken away. Like you're taking a life at the end of the day. And the way that I was taking life, they had no idea it was even coming. It was 1 minute he could be talking to his friend and now he's gone. That was weird that's weird, you know, to comprehend, I guess, at that age or for anybody, you know, anybody. It takes a special certain breed. And I was never like the greatest or best sniper. It was just, Right place, a lot of right place, right time. But I dealt with my own like mental troubles my mental troubles, emotional troubles of when it came to killing. All the other snipers that I've talked to and read about, it's like, no remorse whatsoever. And that's the sniper motto: without warning, without remorse. But
Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
I could do the without warning part. It was the without remorse part that I was battling with big time,
After the fact.
after the fact, after each kill. When I'm alone in my room, after each one, it was a internal battle of you have to suppress that, man. Like I would tell myself that, like, dude, you gotta suppress it. You can't. This is gonna eat you up,
It does sound to me like, I could be wrong here, but just the way you're describing it, it seems like consciously you were very confident all these guys were actually the bad dudes they were said to be, and some of them you could tell because you could see like they're wearing a suicide vest, like that's no question asked.
Yeah.
But there might have been, one or two floating around in your head where you're like, maybe not, like even if it's a small part of the subconscious, it's enough. That 1% is enough to make you think, fuck, this is one thing you want to be 100% on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Even if you're told to shoot someone, it still some just are, they could stick with you in a different way. I always felt something. Even the bad guys that I shot, like I knew that they were fighting for something. I knew that I'm in their land essentially, and I'm on your rooftop or on your neighbor's rooftop, and you come outside with a gun because you want to check it out. I would do the same thing.
Yep.
And it was just, it didn't work out that way for them. They came outside with a gun, and something as simple as that could be enough to warrant, to get shot easily.
When they start calling you the Reaper?
That was like midway through. An assaulter, initials WR. It didn't start off as the Reaper. It just was like, dude, you're like the angel of death. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And my spotter, Pemberton, he's like, oh, like the Reaper, Blue Oyster Cult. And I'm like, what the hell is Blue Oyster Cult? And he's like, the band. And I'm like,
no, I don't.
No, I have no clue what you're talking about. And he's like singing it to me, and I'm like, don't fear the Reaper. And he's like, yeah, you're like the angel of death, the Reaper. And I was like, all right, cool. And that's where
sick name.
Yeah. That's where that came from. And then I got back and got into Blue Oyster Cult.
You are now?
Just that song.
Just that.
Just that song.
There you go. You like play that when you wake up in the morning, like the beginning of a TV show?
No, it's before I go.
The Reaper's awake.
Got my morning coffee going. Yeah. No, I put it on a CD, old CD-ROMs, and we had these deployment videos after we came back, and behind, like, we took videos and pictures and stuff, and our little CD had Blue Oyster Cult playing in the background for me and my spotters. And I listened to it like every once in a while, going on a ride or something like that. I just love the song. It's a pretty damn cool song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a classic.
Just so happened as it was,
And now it's time to be forever.
Yeah, now it's like that. So it's a cool song, though.
When you keep saying spotter, though, because you use that term throughout our whole sit down today, and like we brought up Pemberton, your partner, like I think a lot of, the armchair people out there like me, when we hear that, we just kind of assume like someone who's like, all right, the wind's at 5 meters, all right, up.
Oh, yeah.
But also like Pemberton's shooting too. You start to lay that out as well.
Yeah. So in traditional army, traditional military, you do have a sniper and a spotter. Your sniper is going to be the shooter. Your spotter is going to be the guy who's, your wind is this. He's this far away. In Ranger Battalion, we're only working with there's only 14 Rangers, snipers, during that time throughout the entire battalion, which is not a lot at all to cover 1,000 guys or whatever. But we're trained in both roles sniper and spotter. So for him, I call him my spotter because I was the senior E5 sergeant and he wasn't there yet. And I was just the sniper team leader. So that made him my spotter. But he was a sniper 100%, just as much as I was. You know, he's only called one for me like one time. Other than that, I'm doing everything. I was a sniper and spotter, and he's a sniper and spotter for himself, and I am for myself.
He had like 14 kills on that deployment too. Yeah.
And then went on to do more than that, his next deployment after the fact. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was long gone after that, but not long gone. I just got out. And he went on to do his thing. But, yeah, it was traditional. That's what you're thinking. You got the guy who's saying, turn here, look here, wins here. But for us, it's just the title. He was a sniper. I was a sniper. But to assume roles, one of us has to be a spotter. And me being the senior guy, I'm not, I wanted to shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
What was that you mentioned it a few minutes ago, but what's the death click thing? I don't understand that. So like when he would pull his gun and once in a while, like it wouldn't shoot and then it was as if he couldn't shoot after that. Like how does that work?
Yeah. Had no idea how it worked. I think it was just a dirty bolt. He had a bolt gun, and a bolt gun in the desert. I know we talked about the bolt gun, but bolt guns in the desert, they just sucked a little bit because of the sand and the grit if you don't good maintenance or whatever, it could jam your gun up. I'm not sure if that's why his weapon jammed, but there's a bullet in the chamber and you pull the trigger and all you hear is click. You just hear the hammer drop and the pin going for it and nothing happens, no boom. That's the click of death. And it happened that one time and I chewed him out for it and it never happened again. And I was never a guy to chew anyone out. I've only chewed like him out one time ever. He's like the only person I ever chewed out. And I didn't even chew him out. It's just like, dude, don't let this happen again. You know, I need you. That was it. That was it, man. But
so what that 5-day deployment though, that was the
Yeah.
one in the middle. That was where shit got real. You started to talk about it, but
yeah.
take me there to the beginning of it, like what the mission was and who was all supposed to be on it and where it was again.
Yeah. So we're in Afghanistan, Kandahar, Afghanistan. It was all going to be Kandahar, Helmand province area. And we were tasked to go out with the recce team because they were tracking a very high value target. It was a really high up value target. Wasn't bin Laden, but he was up there. And he happened to come across our radar and our area of operation. Reconnaissance guys were tracking him through all kinds of different spooky means. And they pinned him to this location. They came and they asked me and Pemberton, could we go on it? Asked if I could take this shot. I was like, yeah, I lied. And I got on the operation and we hopped on a Chinook helicopter. The Chinooks, they have the 2 blades on top and just 6 of us. So it's 4 reconnaissance guys and me and Pemberton. And we're the only guys on the back of this helicopter. And we took like a 35-minute, I forget how long the ride was, flight. Dropped off in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It was just desert field. Did some walking and we had enough, like all with our rucksacks on, everything to last for a week and then some. We get out there, meet up with some, I forget the Marine unit. They were Marine Corps, 1525. 1525. I have no idea how Marine Corps stuff works. But they were Marines and they were having this issue with this school. We linked up with them. They're like, hey, can we stay with you guys for a little bit? We're tracking some target. They're like, who the hell are you guys? We're like, we're in the Army and Spec Ops, Special Operations. They're like, okay. And we start working with them for a little bit for those couple of days. Basically, the reconnaissance guys were setting up their little satellites. I have no idea how they track people with electronics. I just know it was cool. and they could find you if you ever have a cell phone. And yeah, so me and my spotter, or me and my Pemberton, we had no idea how to do this stuff, so we linked up with their sniper team, and their sniper guys were doing the stuff that I wanted to do in the Army, which is, my entire sniper career, which you put your uniform on, your ghillie suit, and you go live out in the middle of Afghanistan, just you and your spotter, and that's it, away from everybody. So it's, if anything goes wrong, it's just you guys.
That was like, remember the movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, yep.
Like that first scene when they're just, they got like they're like blended into the environment and they're just sitting out there completely alone. Like that kind of deal.
Yeah,
right?
when the movie first opens up. Yep, yeah. I was doing that, yeah. Well, the Marines were, they mastered that. This was going to be my first time ever doing that. And I decided to do, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, we got it. We probably can't show this, Alessi, to be honest with you, but we're watching it right here. They're like they're underneath like reeds and shit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, man.
Yeah, that's the stuff we were doing. And I remember they were like, hey, can you help us out? Every morning we're getting ambushed. I'm like, yeah. Well, we made a phone call to our commander, and our commander's like, sure, go for it, help them out. We set out that, they gave us some maps, and they're like, hey, we're going to be set up over here, and, you guys set up wherever you can over here. And it was one of the most coolest things I've ever done. We left that night on foot and started like making our way to the city, or this little village area, and picked some lock on the front of a door, broke into their home, silently like secured the home. Nobody was in it. Me and Pemberton set up a urban sniper hide in the kitchen of this person.
Urban sniper hide?
Yeah. So you have a urban sniper hide. It's just in an urban environment, a sniper hiding location.
Okay.
Different types of setups you can use it depending on where you're at. Ours was really basic, just punching some holes in the wall and allowing us to see where we want to potentially engage targets, and it allows us to stay inside of a building, not be exposed, and shoot through a little hole that we punched out the side of a wall. Didn't like that position after like a few hours, so we decided to go to the upper level of this little hut house thing and set up there, and we stayed up there all night long and waited for sunrise. Me, Pemberton, and we had a reconnaissance guy. He had a radio, so he can call back to base if anything went down. And that morning, as sun broke, like rose over the horizon, I remember like the city waking up, that little town and village, and you can hear people talking and stuff like that. And I saw the Marine convoy like rolling through this portion of the city I was overlooking. And no shit, a guy pops out with an RPG from around the corner, and he's lined up on this Humvee. And I had been looking at this building. Me and Pemberton were doing a bunch of like, hey, to this building, from us to this building's this far, us to this building's this far. And we had our little sectors of fire, and everything was designated to, if someone came up between me and this Luigi-looking rock, is what we would, something like that. I'm like, that's 200 yards. From here to the Smurf house, we just made up names, and that's like 800 yards. And it goes along like that. So if he yells out Smurf house, got a target, I know where to look. Or if he's like Luigi rock, I know it's on this side. Or, so you do it like that.
And you got to shoot where he's going to be, especially if he's in a moving vehicle.
No, he wasn't in the vehicle. This guy just popped out from around the corner of the house.
Oh, I misunderstood that. Sorry.
Yeah, the Marines were in the Humvee riding through the city, or through this little village. And when he popped out is when it was like, holy shit, this is really happening. And it was the furthest shot I was going to take, or have taken, since that deployment started. And pulled the trigger. And luckily, everything planning prior to it knowing the distance, panned out, and I watched him get hit smack in his chest or in his torso area, and him go down and save the Marine convoy. And we started getting engaged and had some orders, our RPGs launched at us. And I have the picture from that. And then at a book signing, it's the weirdest small world coincidences that's ever happened. I was at a book signing, and then one of the Marines who was in that Humvee also lives in San Antonio, Texas, and came to a book signing, and we had our moment. And that was the weirdest, like, holy shit, dude. You know.
You saved my life.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like that. I was just out there, man, doing my thing. I don't think I saved anyone's life, to be honest with you.
I mean, if a guy has an RPG and he's about to aim it at a convoy of Marines, I think that's kind of fair to say you may have saved their life.
He could have missed. I don't know, man.
Or he could have hit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird feeling to, I don't know. Weird, but shot that guy, and they brought me back his flip-flop. I blew him out his flip-flops when I shot him, or his flip-flop popped off. And
I heard that wrong when you first said
oh, what'd you hear?
I thought you were saying like the situation flip-flop, meaning it wasn't what you thought. Well, you were literally talking about the guys.
Oh, no, his literal like flip-flop popped off his foot, and
oh my God,
I couldn't take it back. Snuck out of that situation, and
how many days in is this?
This was 3 days in.
Okay.
3.5. As that mission's completing, my platoon of Rangers, 2nd platoon, they were coming in to help facilitate this HVT capture. The reconnaissance guys had him pinned down to this location. They're like, hey, he's going to be here. We know where he's going to, X, Y, and Z. We're going to go get him. We couldn't do it with 6 guys. Maybe we could have. I don't know. Looking back at it, absolutely not. But we called in for another platoon of Rangers to come in to help us out with that and plan for like a day, a lot of planning to, take care of this HVT capture or kill mission. And leading out into like going into the last day is when like the whole mission sucked. By then I had only slept like a total of, I don't know, maybe an hour or 2 max, little cat naps here and there. I didn't sleep at all during the first day and a half. I didn't sleep. And then the Marine mission, our operation I did with them, I didn't sleep. I slept like little cat nap bursts off and on in between those. And I slept on the ride out there. We rode out to this mission on these Marine, like, uncomfortable trucks. Don't know what they call them, like a deuce and a half. The terrible, terrible truck. Very uncomfortable. Get out there. I slept like maybe 10 or 15 minutes there. And I slept I was like on a knee, taking a knee. And I fell asleep doing that when we first got there. Then we walked like, I don't know, a few miles into where this guy's location was at. But it took us forever to get there. We're walking up like sand dunes, and it was the weirdest, like Aladdin scene style of infilling into this area. It looked like Aladdin, beautiful skyline, twinkling stars, sand dunes, and all that. It just sucked walking up. And by then, the sun is rising. So it's like, I don't know, it's like at this point, maybe 5-something in the morning. And we have to be, and like we hate doing missions in the daylight because it's, daylight, you can be seen and it sucks. But I knew for some odd reason, just had a weird vibe about this. Like, man, this is getting, we're going to be pushing time. Big, like noonish by the time this whole thing is done, which is terrible. We get in, me, the reconnaissance team, and my sniper team, we planned on setting up like 1.5 miles, or like a mile from the main element. They were going to be taking over this compound, securing the target. Me and the reconnaissance team, my sniper team and reconnaissance team, we were going to set up like a blocking position so no one could come up this road and, go into the objective. Well, we get there, set up, and by now the sun is just about almost all the way over the horizon. And I'm like, fuck, this is going to be bad, man. People are starting to come out and interact, and I see this moped with 2 guys on it, and they're coming up the road into the area where the objective is at, and I take my red dot laser and I put it on the guy's chest, and he stops his bike and he looks down, looks up. He can't see us. We're, pretty concealed in the tall grass and stuff, and he's looking, but I just have this, never forget the look in his eyes of, disdain. He had this angry, empty look like, okay. He backed up, did a Yui, went back to wherever he came from. Then I see a huddle of guys in front of me. And they're in a no joke, a football huddle, planning something. And I asked the reconnaissance team leader, I'm like, dude, can I just smoke these guys? Me and Pemberton, we just want to just smoke them because I had a weird feeling looking over their shoulder, trying to figure out where we are. And they're talking all weird, like a football huddle. I knew they were planning something. And he's like, do you see any guns? And I'm like, negative. And he's like, well, then no. Looking back at it, I'm like, shit, I wish I never asked him that question, and just went ahead and did what I was going to do. But morals and shit. So I'm like, I don't want to. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill him now. I'll wait. And I did. And right after I asked that question, these guys, football huddle, ready, break, and they all disperse out into their, respective hiding spots, wherever they came from. And that's when the sniper or the reconnaissance team lead was like, he just said, I got a bad feeling about this. He said, maybe we should get down. And I'm like, yeah. So I get down lower. As he's starting to get down lower, get in the prone position. It's like the grass all around us was being mowed down. You just heard a lot of snaps and the grass was being mowed. Damn near like a 360 ambush. Just getting hammered. Me and Pemberton, the reconnaissance team, we jump up, and leading into that area, there were these holes in the ground. And I'm like, if anything bad happens, I look back at Pemberton, I'm like, we're going to jump in this hole.
How deep? 2 meters? Something like that?
It was enough. It was like a
meter deep, 2 meters wide?
Yeah. About a meter deep, 2 meters wide. I'm like, if anything happens, we're going to jump in this hole, man. Don't know why I said that. They just looked weird. These holes scattered throughout the field. And he's like, roger that. We start getting shot at. We jump up, go back to this hole, and we all dive in. As many as we can. There's only 2 people left outside. Pemberton had to roll back out because it was just way too cluttered inside the hole. I'm on top of the reconnaissance team lead. No, he's on top of me. Pemberton jumped on top of me. Then I get on top of the reconnaissance team lead, crawling up. Pemberton hops out. Then I have 2 reconnaissance guys on the outside, in the star spread eagle position, cannot move as flat as you could possibly get. Pemberton's next to me, and I'm watching bullets ping up next to his arm and face and everywhere. And you can hear the snaps of bullets. And
do you know what it is? Is it a sniper? Or
at this point, it's just machine guns.
Just machine guns.
Yeah, we had just tons of machine gun fire, hundreds of rounds coming in. We didn't know it was a sniper until maybe 10 minutes after being pinned down like that. It's like all that went silent, and then you just heard this single crack. It was and I'm like, dude, this guy's got a semi-automatic, very accurate. Every movement that you would make, he would aim at that movement, and the bullet would get within inches of you. Inches. Sometimes, dude, it was within an inch.
Now you're the hunted.
Yep, it's the first time and only time I've ever been hunted. Bullets got so close at one point that the medic reconnaissance guy He's freaking out because he thinks me and the reconnaissance team leader were hit. We go up to try to see if we could see where the sniper's at, and we're almost helmet to helmet, and the bullet goes in between our helmets, and he pushes off of me, I push off of him. I think his head is gone. He thinks my face is gone, and the medic thinks one of us is for sure hit. We're like, no, I'm good. And he was good. Pemberton, he starts calling out targets that are like danger close, measured in feet, you know. And I'm like, dude, start taking guys down. He hits a guy. I see 3 guys on a rooftop, like 400 or 500 yards
And you're
out.
in this hole.
Yeah.
So you can see like up above
Just
it.
above it, yeah. And I see guys on a rooftop setting up a machine gun nest. I start engaging those guys. I got 2 but 1. He ended up running away. Pemberton's dropping guys behind us within like feet. And yeah, you could hear them screaming like Allah Akbar, and you could hear like the ground pounding from them running. They were extremely close. We're hammering guys at danger close.
This feels like Vietnam.
It felt like
yeah. Just they're fucking, they don't care. They're just running at you, ready to die.
Yeah, that's what they were doing, man. It was like that. So this is the most fear I've ever felt.
How's time at this point? Does it feel slow? No time.
There was no time. It was just, time stopped at that point. Time stopped. I didn't know until after the fact how long we had been pinned down. And
how long?
We were pinned down for 3 hours with that sniper. But to me, I had no concept of time. I just knew it was not ending. It felt like a long time, but 3 hours of just constant, one bullet being pinned down. And I would try to shoot back to where I thought he was at. And then after a while, I'm like, dude, I have no idea. I have a general idea of where he's at. We pinned it to this one location of the tallest building in that area. Shots were coming from, and there was a section of the wall that was cut out or blown out of the side of the wall, the side of his building. And I'm like, oh, dude, if I were a sniper, that's where I would be. And he's using, he's shooting through this little like a loophole, if you want to call it that. I tell the reconnaissance team lead, I'm like, dude, let's hop on comms. We're going to get bombs dropped, level this place, kill as many people as we can who are out here. This whole place was bad. Then we found, way later, come back to it, but we were surrounded, depending on what sources and what you look up, it's a few hundred people that were, no shit. That's,
and how many are you pinned down again?
5 at this point.
I was going to say, it's 5.
Yeah.
It was 5 or 6. Holy shit, man.
So.
Hundreds,
yeah. Yeah. Hundreds, man. And so I'm calling in for bombs. We get denied. And I'm like, dude, there's no way we're going to survive this. We called for.
Why'd they deny it?
During that time, Obama's rules of engagement were you could not accept anything with a 0.1 collateral damage. So if we dropped a bomb on us, and if that building got hit with a piece of shrapnel, that's money that, is going to be owed to. It was just a big political game. But his rules of engagement were extremely strict. Yeah, I don't know why, but they were just extremely strict, and it was really hard to get bombs dropped at that time. It wasn't like before. It was relatively easy to drop.
Yeah, they were turning the page on the George W. Bush. We gonna find you memos.
Yeah. So it was hard as hell, man, to get a bomb dropped, and like I'm cussing out a commander. Like, dude, I'm livid, man. Like, we're gonna die if we don't get anything out here, any type of ordnance. And I'm like, okay, we'll drop them on us then, because they're danger close. If we can get bombs dropped on us, I'm like, well, 500-pound bomb's gonna suck, probably gonna die, but at least I'm gonna kill some of them too, Yeah, and they deny it. They said the best that they could do was send in a show of force. So we had a B-2 bomber, which I thought was a UFO when I first saw it. I'm like,
Thought it was a UFO.
hell yeah. I had been awake for almost 5 days. I'm like, I look over my shoulder. I'm like, dude, that's a UFO. And it's just this flat black line coming into this my field of view. I'm like, yeah, that's a UFO. And then when it gets like almost, like abduct me. If I would have gotten abducted, that'd have been better than, sitting through that whole firefight. But he comes over. I'm like, holy shit, that's a B-2. I've only seen that. It's the stealth bomber plane. That's the only time I had ever seen one in real life. It's way bigger than I expected, and it's extremely flat. It just looks, it's surreal to see.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to seeing it on.
That's
the thing right there, man.
Oh, yeah, I'd be thinking the same thing.
Yeah. And from head on,
oh, yeah.
that looks like a freaking UFO, man.
That fucking thing's from Zeta Reticuli.
Yeah. And when dude, I'll never forget that. And it came over top of us, and I could see the bay doors underneath it. And I'm like, oh, the shit, they're going to drop bombs. And they didn't. It was just a show of force. They flew within like 1,000 feet overhead.
Wow.
And
I'm just I'm seeing the shape of that.
Yeah.
It's just like you described from below.
Yeah.
That would feel like a hovercraft.
dude, exactly. It looks like a UFO coming in. I'm like, that is sick. They just kept shooting at us. And yeah, it didn't do anything. Then they, was it F-16, F-15 or F-16?
They sent that in?
Yeah, they sent the F-16, F-15 in, or one of those two planes the second time, and they dropped flares or something, flares to, I guess, scare the enemy away, and that also didn't work. So me and the recce reconnaissance team leader were like, dude, I'm like, you have a grenade? He's like, yeah. And like, we're going to hug this thing. When they get in close, we're just going to hug it, all of us, pull the pin on it, and we're just going to blow ourselves up because there's no way I'm, getting decapitated for my parents to see on the news, Luckily, that did not happen. We already said our goodbyes. I'm telling Pemberton, like, dude, love you, bro. Tell my wife if you make it. I'm not a bitch, bro. I fought, and we fought hard. He's like, no, you're good, man.
You were saying like time stopped during this, and this is all during that 3-hour period. But like, what's the? It doesn't feel to me like you have the luxury of the presence to really take that gravity. Is it more just like going through the motions? Well, this might be it. Yeah. And you don't really get to appreciate that. You're just doing it because that's what you're supposed to do almost?
No, it's not. No, I think it was just we didn't want to die and get our heads chopped off like that, And
No. I mean, I'm sorry. I should have said that better. It wasn't clear. The actual saying it to someone else, like, all right, because we don't want to die and get our heads chopped off, like we may just have to blow ourselves up. Like the gravity of, holy shit, we're about to blow ourselves up. This is it. You feel that maybe a little less.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't train for that. It was just what made sense, And I had accepted death at that point. Like, I was ready for it. Before that, I was scared. And then after, like, I guess we're approaching like hour 3 at this point, and I'm like, I don't even care anymore, man. Tired of being shot at. So I had accepted it, I had already, I guess, felt what it was going to feel like for me not to be here anymore, and I didn't.
You felt what it felt like for you to not be here anymore.
Yeah, like what my parents would have to go through, my wife was going to have to go through. And it was something I wouldn't have to worry about because I would be dead. So all the fear that I had of before, like, man, what my parents would, once you accepted death, it's like, well, it won't matter to me anyways. So what's there to worry about? I won't even have to worry about that. That's for them that they're going to have to worry about. I won't even have any idea of the grief and the grief that they feel or the pain that they feel. Like, I'm not even here to experience that, so it doesn't matter anyways. And I had accepted that. And that's when, legit, no shit, I look over my shoulder and I see like the Roadrunner coming in, and it's Benjamin Kopp, Eric Ennis, and his machine gun teams. Their machine gun teams. They're running so fast, they're like kicking up dirt. And they fought their way under fire for like a mile on foot to get to us. It was
a mile.
Yeah, dude. It was a long distance. Maybe not necessarily a mile. It was a little over half a mile, like 3/4 of a
That's a
mile
long way.
under fire. And they came in to lay down cover fire and get us out. We popped smoke instead of the grenade, and the smoke like blew the wrong direction. So it didn't even conceal us. So we all start bounding out by twos, and as we're bounding out, the sniper's just picking away at us, just trying to shoot at us from behind.
Did you know who this sniper was? You called him the
Yeah, the
Chechen.
Chechen.
You knew at
Yeah.
this point that's who it was?
No, I had an idea. That's because the Marines, like before going into that area, the Marine snipers are like, dude, there's a guy out there. He's a Chechen guy, Chechen sniper. He's been here since, the 70s era, fighting with them. He's a paid mercenary and he has a little team, and dude's got like 300 something kills or whatever. That's what they say. I don't know if he could have had 13 kills. I don't know. He was damn good. He wasn't great. He was good though. Really, really good. He had some experience big time. But yeah, I knew it was a sniper. I just had no idea it was like the Chechen guy. And that didn't hit till a little bit later. And it hit me like, oh, the Marines were talking about the Chechen guy. But yeah, we didn't get shot, thankfully. But when we all bounded out, made it to the machine gun team, and dude, I'm thirsty. I'm like, I need some water. And Benjamin Kopp, he gives me some water out of his backpack, and I drink half of it. I was initially going to be a dick and drink the whole bottle of water, but I was like, my spotter needs some too, so I saved half for him. But that water was so good, man. I was being a good leader. So, yeah. And he drank the other half, and as we're leaving out,
Where physically, like where I want to make sure I'm picturing this right. So you come out of the 2-meter hole, you go to where the machine gun team is. Where are they undercover?
So it's like imagine a road, but it has two sides, like two. The roads go up,
like dunes.
Yeah, like that. But it's just a long dune to make a road on top, and we were on the other side. So we ran from here, went over, and we're on this side now. So the sniper from over here can't shoot.
Hit you.
So we're on this side, but that's where we were seeing the huddle of people at before, in that little football huddle meeting that they were having. Right before we pick up, I make sure I'm like, hey, I tell them the plan. We're gonna go back this way. We're gonna cut across this way, and boom, 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 right? You guys go first. Me and Pemberton, we're going to be the last ones that want to make sure everybody makes it out. As they're leaving, me and Pemberton, I'm standing up, or I'm on a knee, and I see a guy pop out with the AK-47. I'm like, Pemberton, come here. And I put my rifle over his shoulder and click, drop this guy. But that was like, that's one kill I kind of felt good about. I really felt good about, because I was just tired of the bullshit,
I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah, that's the rare ones. I was like, I don't even care about this guy. He was being an asshole. So I shot him, and we kept moving, and tides changed like shortly after that. As soon as we started to skirt across this tree line, right in front of this tree line, dude, like the ground opened up. From when you talk about Vietnam, that's what it reminded me of like you see a slab of ground pick up and a guy pop out of it and start shooting, or you see flashes come out of it. Yeah. And next to us, this is like a ravine, chest-high water ravine. I did not know it was chest high at the time. I just see cover, I'm diving in it. Dive into this cover, hit the water, and you just hear just screaming and bullets snapping overhead. And they're only like 25 meters away at best.
Do you see any of them coming into the water, like around
No, you can see them hitting the embankment. So they're over here, and we all jump into the embankment, and they're just shooting over us and into the embankment wall behind us. But it's not enough you'd have to be standing on top of us to shoot into it. So yeah, hop in the water, we all do, and I get my bearings of like, what the hell's going on? I pick my rifle back up and I see muzzle flashes and faces and people running. So I start engaging best I could. Everyone's lined up on the line. We're all shooting back. And Benjamin Kopp, the guy who just came in to save us, he's on the left side of me. He's on my far left, the furthest down you can get to the left of me. And we got like maybe, I don't know, 5 guys in between me and Kopp. And his leg is up on the embankment and he's shooting with his rifle into, at the enemy too, laying down cover fire for us so we could like continue on this, ravine to make it to a safe house. And not long story short, it gets a little bit longer, but I start to hear this loud pop, like somebody had an M4 right next to my left ear. And I'm about to tell this guy, dude, back away a little bit, man, because it was like extremely loud in my left ear. And I go to tell someone, I'm like, dude, back up, and no one's there. But what I do see is the ground behind me exploding, boom, boom. I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting shot at. So I move off to the right a little bit. And as soon as I do that, I look back through my scope to see some people. And as soon as I do that, I hear the weirdest slap, like if you took a ruler and slapped it on your pillow 2 times in almost rapid succession, like pow, pow, like kind of like that. And I heard Benjamin Kopp scream, like just a weird scream. And shortly after he screamed, he's like, I'm hit, I'm cussing and all that stuff. Then I look over at him and I just see a water hose, like someone turn on a water hose and was just, they would spray it and cut it off like that. And it was spraying out like 20 feet into the field and I was like, that's not good, obviously. He goes down and the water, it was already brownish, muddy water, but now it's a dark brown. And it tasted like a mouthful of, like if I took a mouthful of pennies and put it in my mouth.
Oh, it's getting in your mouth.
Yeah, his blood. I still got pictures of it. Yeah. And just completely soaked in it. And the medic, Doc Melvin, he went on to be a Green Beret, badass medic.
Yeah, this dude sounded like
dude. He ran over there, treading through the water, and he puts down his medical kit, and it's just floating in the ravine. And he's damn near doing surgery on this guy.
And the guy's like floating on the top of the water, essentially.
Yeah, yep. He puts a tourniquet on, and it does not stop the bleeding. Puts another tourniquet on, doesn't stop the bleeding. And I remember the platoon leader, who is now with us, he's like, hey, we got to start moving now. We're getting pinned down. And the doc, he looks over at him, and he just shakes his head. He's like, I need more time. And I'm like, fuck, this is bad. He's damn near doing surgery, like trying to pinch off his femoral artery. They got snapped up into his pelvis region. And I start laying down some suppressive fire, but I'm having a hard time because it's just hard to even lift your head up at this point, getting shot at. There's a sniper still engaging. I turn to the PL and I'm like, sir, we need to, make it 300 meters down this embankment. We're going to take a right and the safe house is going to be right there. And he comes back and I'm screaming in his ear. I'm pulling him in by his shirt or his body armor to scream in his ear. And then I just feel like a warm splash of water just slap the side of my face. But along with that, his body went completely limp. And it was just like trying to hold up 200 something pounds of a man. And he goes limp. I look down, it's just hamburger meat that's just hanging out of his upper part of his chest. He has this weird hole in it, and his eyes were like just weird look, like big eyes, man, in shock, complete shock. And I look down at him, then I go down, and I'm like, I knew what happened, but it messed me up enough to put me in shock. It's the only time I've ever been in shock, man. And I'm just sitting up against the embankment. I'm looking at this weird hole in his chest, and he's doing weird body movements and breathing weird and screaming and asking questions that don't make sense. Pemberton comes over. He puts his fingers and damn near his whole hand inside this, the hole. And he's looking at me finally, or in my mind during this time, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stand up. I'm going to stand up and just take one to the head, man. I was checked out at this point. I'm debating it, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just lift up my hand. I just want to go home, Luckily, it didn't do either, but the reconnaissance guy, communications reconnaissance guy, he comes over and slaps me on the helmet. He's like, hey, Irv, that's what everybody called me, Irv, get back in it. And slapped me in the helmet, rings my bell a little bit, and I look back over the embankment, try to engage. I'm like, I can't. He's like, come over here to me. That sniper, he's not even shooting at me. So I go over here, follow him, underneath this fallen tree. Come up behind or underneath the tree, and as soon as I come up, we start getting engaged by the sniper again. So he pushes me away. He's like, nah, dude, fuck that. He's after you. And I'm like, what? I make my way back up the embankment, and that's when the PL is like, Irv, get this son of a bitch. And I'm like, Roger, Roger that, sir. And
you're back in the game now.
Back in it as best as I could be. I just knew I couldn't get this guy. I'm like, and it was a hard weight to carry, I guess. A heavy weight to carry, to have like your commander, your platoon leader be like, hey, get this guy, because he just shot me. He shot cop. We didn't know he was going to die, and he had shot Watkins, so I had forgot another sniper who was attached to us. He got shot in his ankle. So we got 3 down, and he's like, Irv, get this guy. And I'm like, yeah, I will, Never did. But we ended up picking up and moving the wounded. We're like, we have to get out of here.
How long were you in that ravine? Do you know?
About an hour.
An hour down there.
It was a while, man.
How far into that was cop hit? Like 20 minutes?
Oh, no. As soon as we jumped in.
Right away.
Like 45 minutes to right away. As soon as we.
So he's in there for. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. It was surgery inside in the water. He's bleeding out. By the time I saw him, he was as white as like a sheet of paper. And he was checked out. Like, when he passed by me and we're passing his body up, I volunteered. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cut off. I'm going to go to the end of the formation. That way, if anybody hops in the ravine and starts to shoot, I'm just going to eat it with my plates or my back, and that'll allow them to keep going. So I volunteered to go to the rear. Pemberton took Cop's backpack full of ammo and stuff, and we start moving. But by the time I saw him, he was barely hanging on to life.
Did you say anything to him?
Yeah, hold your breath, because they were going under to get cover, and every time they went under, like he would.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he wasn't like really holding it. He was checked out, essentially. But every time we'd go under, you hold his breath and come back up to get cover. It was brutal for the whole 300 meters damn near. Get up to the 300-meter mark, and I'm like, all right, me and Pemberton, we're going to volunteer now from the back of the formation to go to the front. That way we can get into the compound and get the high ground. So that way, once we have the high ground, the rest of those guys can make it into the compound. And as soon as we, it was waterlogged, everything was waterlogged. Half my mags were like jammed full of mud and water and all types of crap, man. I get out, start to make my way to the safe house, and like the earth opened up. That's what it felt like. Felt like World War III, like the earth just shook. And I got down thinking that, dude, I'm down. I thought I was dead. Like my body was chopped up, from just machine gun fire. Pemberton looks back at me, and I just saw his eyes big as shit. And he comes and he just handful of me. Pause. Just grabbed it. He just grabs a handful he just grabbed a handful of me, man. And he's like,
oh, we finally got a pause in here.
Yeah.
I bit my tongue. I've had such good self-control not saying pause to so many guests, but I'm glad you did it.
Oh, good. You got to have the breaks every once in a while. Yeah, he grabs me, man, and he starts dragging me back, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Get down. I'm like, we're getting shot at. He's like, no, those are our guys. So I look up above him, and I see the safe house, and up on that rooftop, there's it's like 4 or 5 guys with machine guns up there.
Lighting them up like the 4th of July.
Just like that. And it was all like balls to the wall, man. I'm like, even in training, I've never heard a machine gun team just lay that much hate down. It scared the hell out of me. And finally make it on to the inside and there's a picture on the internet of when we first made it through that into the safe haven, the walls of the safe haven. That's what we called it, this little building that we had took over, this compound. And I look back at Pemberton, made sure he was okay. And the first sergeant who was in there, he's like, I need you guys on the rooftop. And I thought when I got in there, I was going to let me just catch my breath, you know? No time for that. Get on the rooftop. I look back in Pemberton, I'm like, dude, we're killing everybody. Anybody who posed a threat, you were going to get hit. He just shook his head. We went up there and went to work, essentially. And yeah.
Is that it?
That's the one with the Marine Corps. So that's where I was up on, with the Marines. That's where I shot the guy with the RPG. And the picture down there is right after we were getting lit up, right there with the Marine. Yeah. Oh, wow, they even got my little karate picture up there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was cute. I stayed in karate for like 2 weeks and quit. They wouldn't let me break a board. That's the reconnaissance. No, that's the reconnaissance comms guy. Pemberton's down there on the bottom. Yeah.
Is that him with you, the second one?
Yep.
Right
That's
there?
him. That's Pemberton right there. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is right afterwards. And it's a little fuzzy because these aren't popping up all the way, but your face just looks like you've seen a ghost.
Bro, it was bad. I hadn't slept in days. I was so, mentally I was checking out right about there. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of stuff, but
they put you right up on this roof to go to work.
Yeah. I got to send you those pictures, man. But, yeah, we did, and stayed up there. It was so freaking hot. Yeah, it was hot, man. It was people all over the place. I could see further than what I could shoot, people like getting dropped off in vans, like a sliding door vans hopping out, and they had RPGs and all types of shit on these little moped bikes. Like 5 dudes somehow fit on one moped bike, and they were getting dropped off like that. It's the weirdest thing, man. And I'm trying to engage these guys. We shot a lot, and we shot a lot of people. The closest engagement was like 20-something feet away, and guys were trying to hop
20-something feet.
Yeah, they were trying to hop over the wall, this tall wall, to get into the compound with us.
You're hitting them with a sniper from 20 feet away.
Oh yeah.
What's that, like an exploding pumpkin?
No, I don't even remember seeing, like, it was so close that when the recoil happened, I couldn't see the impact. It was like,
oh my God.
I put the scope on a button. I remember the guy I shot had a plaid shirt. So we did like a Simo hit. These guys popped from around the building, and they're about to come up over the wall into our compound. So all the snipers on the rooftop picked a guy. I'm like, I got the guy in the plaid shirt. You got this guy in the white shirt or whatever. And
3, 2, 1.
Yep. Pull the trigger. Stack of bodies just folded on top of each other. Yeah, and I facilitated the medevac, the helicopter coming in with the Red Cross on the side. Old school, like Marine Huey helicopter. Landed in the field, and I'm laying down suppressive fire for them, watching Cop, Watkins, and the PL, who's not dead, is just chest is messed up now.
He's doing okay though.
He was still giving out like orders. Once the initial shock went over, all that, dude, he was still like making coordinations. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
You said it. You described it like
hamburger meat. Just folded out of itself. It was disgusting.
And he's out there saying, "You get on that goddamn ledge."
yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it was like that, man. This badass dude. It wasn't a badass when he got hit. It was like a little girl. I can say that now. He made it. But yeah, he was I mean, anybody. I think if I would have got hit, I'd have been a little girl too.
Yeah, you don't know how it would be till you do it.
No. Watkins got hit in the ankle, and like we made fun of him for like a year after that.
That's a bad place to get hit.
Yeah. And he cried.
When I cried like a little bitch.
Yeah,
too.
Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, made fun of him for crying. I have a picture of him crying in the compound.
You hang that one above your bed too?
Right. I'm going to now. Send it to him. Hey, you remember this day? But yeah, dude. They all get on the helicopter. They leave out.
And Melvin's still with him?
Did he stay with? He stayed with us, I believe. I'm not sure, actually. I think he stayed with us. I'm not sure. I really am not sure. They had medics on the helicopter. I think Melvin stayed with us. But yeah, or maybe I don't remember that. That's a good question. I don't know where he went. He was the only other black guy in battalion. I have no idea where he went.
Damn it!
Right?
Together.
I'm like, I always keep track of that guy. But now they all get on, man. They left, and I remember the first sergeant. He's like, if you got a bayonet, if you have a knife, hatchet, get ready. Like, this shit's about to go hand to hand. And they had already had a hand-to-hand incident getting to their objective to go capture their high-value target. Like, they were doing grenade warfare. Like,
are you almost out of ammo, too, at this point?
I went in with 210 rounds, and I left with 6 or 7 rounds. Yeah.
And you have a sniper. This is not even like...
But it's a semi-automatic sniper. And one of my mags was completely messed up. Like, it was jammed, and I couldn't use it. But I was using the machine gunner next to me. We have essentially the same round. It's the same caliber, 308. But mine is a hollow tip boat tail. His is just like a ball. It's not as accurate, if you want to,
Got it.
But I'm delinking some of his rounds and putting him inside my magazine. Like, if this goes to shit, But he only has like so many rounds from his machine gun. He's like, I got half a belt. I'm like, damn, That's why the first sergeant was saying, if you have a knife, hatchet, something, get ready in case this goes hand to hand. We were going to remain overnight. So our guys who were still back at the compound, they were going to fly in and drop off equipment, roll them out the back of a helicopter, extra mags, extra water and everything. That never happened.
What about the HVT at this point? Do you have a status update on that?
Yeah, we had them. Yeah. The assault team, they were doing their thing while we were pinned down. That's why they couldn't help us. We got them.
So why do you still have to stay there? If you
to
already
keep fighting.
To fight the guys who are left?
Hell yeah. Rangers are about to fight. Like, that's what we do. We don't, it's the only time in Ranger Battalion where I've ever heard of us having to, like, disengage. This is the only time I've heard of it. We've called in reinforcements from the Marines that were, like, the ones we had helped out earlier. Forget how far away they were, but either way, they couldn't come out to that area. They said, we can't go into that area with anything less than a brigade. And a brigade is like a few thousand men. For the Marine Corps. And we're out there with like a handful of dudes.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that sucks. But they said, what you can do is run to us and we'll have some Humvees out there for you guys. We'll pick you guys up. But there's 5 guys on each Humvee already with the Marines. You got the driver, passenger, machine gunner, and 2 other guys in the back seat, I believe. There was a few with just 3 guys in there. Either way, it wasn't enough vehicles and not enough space, but we managed to somehow fit on and in all these vehicles. We ran out to them, so we've decided, hey, it's not the best time to sit here and fight this one out. We're gonna take our chances and just run out the back door, basically. And it's legit this big blue door in the back of the compound. They opened it up, and you could see, almost a mile away, Marines on this little rooftop, or not a rooftop, a hilltop, parked their vehicles, Humvees, and I'm like, well, shit, I'll just volunteer. I'm going to go first. And Pemberton, I want you in the back, in the rear, and everybody else in the middle. We're going to run to these Humvees. And that's exactly what we did.
It's like a mile, you said?
A little under a mile, yeah. And when we get there, like one of the things that not pissed me off, it was just weird seeing like Marines smoking a cigarette, just chilling. I'm like, we just had the fight of our life. And you guys are, it is what it is. But they stuffed us in a vehicle. We drove back to the compound. And yeah, I remember sitting next to a prisoner off to my right side, waiting for helicopters to come in. And this guy was just mumbling, talking to himself. And I don't know if I can say this, but I pinched him. So, I don't know. I was just fucking angry.
You pinched him?
Yeah. But with
I think you can say
these
that.
knuckles on the back of his fucking arm. Yeah, I was just like, shut the fuck up. So, I pinched him. And, okay, pinched the shit out of him.
I mean, if they throw you in prison for that, we got
I know, right?
We got an issue.
Pinched him, and I fell asleep after that. But I was woken up by the sound of a bullet cracking right past my ear. So I wake back up. I'm looking around like, okay, where's the fight? And everyone's just chilling, hanging out. I'm like, damn, I knew at that moment, like without a doubt, it's like I messed up, man. I was like, I'm scarred. Something's not right. I hear bullets cracking, you know.
What are your, minus like not being, you're not fully aware because you're still back where it was. Minus that, like, what are your emotions? Like, is the adrenaline still pumping through your body?
Oh yeah. But I'm just so tired at this point. Like, I'm exhausted, dude. I was like the rush was still there, but I was just exhausted to even feel the rush. I just wanted to get back to safety, relative safety, you know, and take a shower. Like, I hadn't showered in a week, and you know, I was hungry. But
I hadn't showered in a week.
Yeah. I was hungry a little bit, not too hungry, and I was tired, you know. Yeah. Made it back to the compound, and like a couple of days later, as me and Pemberton were up on our little balcony of our compound, overlooking freaking Afghanistan, and our platoon sergeant comes up, and I knew something wasn't right because he was choking up. Like, he had tears in his eyes. And I've never seen him like that. And because we were the only ones on that mission out of the first platoon, he was like, just wanted to let you guys know cop didn't make it. Boom. When he cried, he's like, if you guys need anything, let him know. But we got to go out tonight. And so get your shit ready. Went out that night, but it really messed us up big time.
Was that the first time you had lost one of your guys?
Yeah. Personal. Like, I had just talked to Cop when they got there, and his birthday was coming up, and he was going to be old enough to drink, you know, or get back and get some beers, and never got a chance to see that. I mean, we drank before, but he would legally, you know, that old, man, that hurt. And playing poker, I was not a big poker player, but I remember seeing him playing poker and taking a nap and talking to him, and like literally a few hours later, I just had water from him. Not even 3 minutes after that, like, I'm tasting his blood now, you know? It's weird. That one sticks with me every day. We got to take a break, though. Yeah.
Sure. We just left off where you were talking about that, where you found out about Cop, and
yeah,
you know, it never. These are the kinds of things that I really appreciate about when we bring in you guys who have been over there doing this stuff, and you bring that home for us to understand what that is, because I've never experienced something like that. Obviously, everyone out there listening, we've had our losses, we've had people die around us, but to see someone, in that case, 20 years old, cut down so short, doing all the right things, and bravely, like, rescuing people on the battlefield, I can't imagine that.
The kid, we were all kids, it felt like. Looking back at it, like back then, like I said, it felt like I was a grown man, you know? But, you know, now that I'm older, you know, it's weird perspective to see the kid that I was doing the stuff that I was doing and the guys that I was surrounded with. It's weird, man, to even, to have lived through that and witnessed it, and experienced it, and yeah, it's just weird that we were that young doing this stuff. It's crazy. Couldn't imagine.
It's not like you were doing it for 5 minutes. You were doing it for 6 years and
Yeah.
as active in the military, and you did all kinds of deployments. This is a long time.
Yeah.
But now with so many years passed on that, and considering how young you were, does it feel like a blink sometimes? Like
Yeah.
it was
Yep.
it was so fast?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It feels like a blink of an eye. It really does. It exactly what it feels like. But when I sit down and I think about it, it's like sometimes new things will pop up. Like, oh, I remember doing that. Or if I'm talking to like one of the guys again, I'm like, oh, I remember that, or I don't remember that. Like, yeah, Irv, remember when you did this and this? I'm like, dude, I have no recollection of doing any of that. But they remember it. And there's stuff that I remember that I used to not remember. And there's stuff that I forget, you know?
Yeah.
Mostly, I guess, because on purpose, I try to forget a lot of it. But there's just stuff that will never, ever leave, though. Whether
You
I
know,
want to or not.
it's such a roll of the dice, though, man. I
Mhm.
mean, it doesn't matter. I've just learned this the hard way through all these stories I hear, not just on my podcast, but like obviously like all the stories you can see online of the dudes who have been out there doing this stuff. It's like the best ones sometimes are just in the wrong place at the
Yeah.
wrong time, and the best ones also are protecting the other people and giving the ultimate sacrifice and everything, and it's devastating, but it's also like the ultimate, you know, like how do you just have the mad respect for the legacy that person leaves, because the imprint he leaves on every one of you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can all see it.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk about it, that's a beautiful thing of it.
I agree with that. Yeah. Like my son knows about him, you know.
That's awesome.
Maybe not in depth, but yeah, he knows who the name is, and I have pictures on the wall of him.
Your son
his-
like 7 or 8 or
7. Yeah, his mom gave me Benjamin Kopp's mom gave me his hat, one of his favorite hats. I have a few of his personal items that his mom gave me. Met his mom, yeah, friends with his mom, and
that's cool.
yeah. So that legacy definitely. And he donated his organs. I think he saved like 20 lives after that. One lady has his heart. Oh, I forget her name. Someone has his eyes. Like, yeah, he's still, in that regard, he's still alive.
Now
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, big time. I think that's really neat, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Circle of life shit.
It
right
really
there.
is. It really is. Yeah, definitely.
Did he have siblings too?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I believe his brother, but half brother
Right.
Yeah. Half. Yeah.
And that's another thing a lot of you guys do an amazing job of, like, you know, connecting and taking care of the families
yeah.
that you never even knew.
Yeah.
In many cases,
Oh, yeah.
before, you know, that type of stuff happens. That's cool that you did that.
Yeah, definitely. Good guy. Still is, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you guys had to go out that same night when
Yeah.
you found out?
When we found out, when we got back, we went out to someplace in Kandahar city. And it was I think it was one of those missions just to like get you back on your feet, so it doesn't, you know, you don't sit back in your room and you think about it all day. And then you're scared to do something. That's what I believe. Every time that we've had an encounter with like a close call or a loss or something, someone got shot, like we're going back out that night, you know, just to not get caught up in that emotion, I guess. Yeah.
And so this is the one with the hole, right?
Shortly after that, yeah, where Pemberton fell down.
Yeah. What happened? This story was nuts. I was reading this, like, it sounded like out of a sick and sadistic movie, the fact that something like this even existed. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't picture it, because I'm like, what is that? What even is that?
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought, or I still think. Still don't know what it was. It was we were doing a mission. We fast roped in because the terrain was too. It's not suitable for landing. Fast roped in, and we started this short little walk, like a few clicks.
At night.
At night.
Do you have night vision on?
Yeah. And we're going at night to capture some guy. Before we even make it to his compound where he stayed at, we're walking almost a single file line. It's the only way we could walk along this portion of terrain. And I saw a shadow. It looked like just a weird shadow. And we all walked past it, like all 30 of us. For some reason, I'm behind the entire formation. Pemberton's behind me, so he's like the last guy. We would fluctuate. As we're walking, I see a shadow, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to pass by it and just walk in the same footsteps as everybody else because landmines and stuff, you know. Made it past this weird-looking shadow, and then I heard like a weird, my voice, my name being called, like my first name. I'm like, what the heck was that? I take my ear pro is halfway hanging out anyways. I like to keep my hearing protection like halfway in, halfway out, sometimes not in at all, so I could hear better or the way I like to hear. And I heard my name being called, and I turn around, and Pemberton's not there. I'm like, where the heck did Pemberton go? You know, maybe he went to go pull security somewhere. So I stay back, and I look some more. I'm like, no, this isn't right. Pemberton's gone. So I'm walking back to find where could I possibly have left this guy at? You know, I just looked, and he was there. Now he's not. Yeah. And I'm walking back, and my feet come within like a foot of that shadow that I saw. Was this damn near like 40-foot wide circle hole in the ground. And it's just pitch black. So I stopped short of that. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I can hear Pemberton in it. And I'm like, dude, are you down there? And he's like, yeah, I need your help to come get me out. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I guess, you know. I'm like, how far down are you? And he's like, I'm like 10 feet. And I'm like,
no, the fuck you're not.
Yeah. I didn't know it at the time. This other guy, an assaulter, T, he comes over, and luckily, because I'm starting to de-kit, I'm like putting my weapon down. I'm like, dude, it's 10 feet. I'm going to clear that jump. It's going to suck, but I'll at least get down in there, and I'll help you get the ladder up. We can get out together. I'm taking my stuff off, and the assaulter comes over, and he's like, wait. He takes a chem light and he throws it down there. And I watch the chem light tumble, and then disappears and go, I can't see it anymore. And he looks over at me, and we both have eyes as big as saucepans, like, dude. And I'm like, hey, are you sure you're 10 feet? Are you down in there? And he's like, yeah. We didn't learn until later, but he thought up was that way, like straight ahead.
Oh, shit.
And when he finally caught wind and saw where we were, he's like, oh, never mind. I'm not 10 feet. You guys are like a pin of light. So I call up on the comms. I'm like, hey, we got a man down. No, I called that first before T.I. came over. I'm like, we have a man down. And the PL is like, our platoon sergeant's like, we have a man down. Were we getting shot at? I'm like, no, it's a man down in the hole. And he's like, well, get him out. I'm like, roger that, but I need help. So he sent T over, and that's where I'm de-kitting, and T stops me and drops the chem light down. So he's like, well, we just fast roped in. I'm going to go grab one of these ropes and bring it over here, and we're going to throw it down and X, Y, and get him out. But it was just him, and these ropes are like over 100 plus pounds. They're heavy ropes. Oh, yeah. And he has to run over these weird irrigation ditches that were like 8 feet tall, and they go down 8 feet. And he's doing this, and he's smoked by the time he makes it halfway. And I'm covering him with my rifle. I'm still talking to Pemberton. He's like, dude, I'm really cold down here. I mean, it's cold. And he's like, I don't know. I hear some stuff. And I'm like, dude, if I hear you scream or you start screaming, I was like, I'm going to dump my entire mag down there. He's like, no, I'm cool. I said, I'm hoping I'm going to just kill the bad guys if there's anyone down there with you. I was like, he can't see anything. So I'm just going to shoot down in there, man. He's like, whatever, cool. T comes back over. He's smoked. He's like, dude, I can't. He's like, we have to call for CSAR, combat search and rescue, the PJs. They come in, took him a minute, but it was one of the weirdest things I've ever heard where a PJ goes down and he's like, they come back up without Pemberton. He's like, we need longer rope, more equipment to get him out. And he's like, dude, he's over 40 something feet. I'm like, how far down is he? And it was 75 plus feet. And
How
they
did he survive?
only fractured his fibia, in his leg. That's the only thing that he hit. There was a wooden ladder down there, an old, like, ancient wooden ladder, and he slapped it. His helmet was cracked or something. I know his Beretta, his pistol was bent. He lost his sniper rifle, and his pistol was bent. A pistol made of, metal, steel was bent, but just his fibia was fractured.
That's crazy. And it was water down there.
Yep. And they finally went down.
It's out of a Stephen King movie.
Yeah. They went down, they got him, and he looked like ass when he came up. But they got him. They were trying to recover his rifle. They dove an additional 40 feet and didn't reach the bottom. There was no bottom. It was just, I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm glad I did not jump down. I would have probably died or landed on top of him and killed him. Or I would have just died from sheer panic because I don't do that stuff. No, I'm not built for that. I'm built for certain things. That's not one of them. But he was calm the entire time. They got him out. We dropped some grenades down to try to collapse it in. That on itself to close the hole up, and the grenades are like blowing up 6 seconds, after you throw it down, and it never touched the bottom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like, when I finally met up with him at the hospital, one of the PJs and the nurses were just confused. They're like, how did he survive that? What happened? He never touched the sides. But I asked him, like, dude, how long were you free falling for? So we printed up some Halo jump wings for him and took him to the hospital. And like, he was an official like Navy SEAL scuba skydiver. Gave it to him at the hospital.
Wasn't he like a Marine before?
He was a
this?
Navy before. Yeah. No idea how he survived it, but he said he never touched the sides, and he had enough time to transition from his rifle to his pistol, whip it out, because he thought he fell over into a courtyard, and he thought when he hit the ground, it was going to be people around, and he was going to have to engage. But he had enough time to get off his sniper rifle and go to his pistol, all while falling, and never had no comprehension of like how far and how long he was falling. But he fell for long enough to do that. It's insane.
And survived.
Survived, came back that next deployment, and like killed a bunch of guys too.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he went home from this one. So this was a few weeks before you guys were going to be done.
Yeah. About a few weeks to about a month or so. I remember just being sad. I was like, man, it's like losing your best friend,
Yeah.
Then I had another replacement. Then he left after that. Then I was just by myself for a little bit, like for a couple of weeks. And that was just boring. Not boring. It was just by yourself and you have no one to talk to or, shoot the shit with.
Do you have a thought yet? Because you had said earlier you didn't want to be in the Army forever or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now that, you went through these insane different battles, obviously highlighted by the middle one, which lasted for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
You've had all these kills. Your partner's had all these kills. Now your partner's back home recuperating. You end up being alone. Like, are you having the thought, like, I've done it. I've seen it. I've had enough of this shit.
100%. I was at that level. I was so done, man. I was like, yeah, you're right. Been there, done it, tasted it. I'm good. And I just know that after that last deployment, if I did it again, went back, I'm like, I don't think I would have made it. I honestly don't think I would have made it. And there was guys on that next deployment, who didn't make it and just got like their entire life changed from being blown up and, just severely wounded. So I don't think I would have made it. I was tired of it. Like, you can only pull the ace out the deck so many times before you finally get the joker,
And it just felt like Afghanistan was starting to get crazy.
Yep. Yeah. I was all the way checked out. Had no desire to do it again. I was ready to be married now, I was married, but now have a chance to actually enjoy it, I guess. That whole time we were married, the first 2 years, I was training and gone, I was home 2 weeks out of a total of 4 weeks out of the year. The other months were dedicated to deployment and training. You're only allotted that amount. 2 weeks before deployment and 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only time you're allotted off.
You said you didn't tell your wife about any of the
No.
stuff that was happening, so she has no idea
No.
what you've been going through.
No, she had a phone call when Pemberton fell down the hole, and she thought that I died. She's like, well, if Pemberton got hurt, then where am I at? And they're like, no, he's fine. And that's like the most she had ever heard, that like, oh, something happened, but he just fell down a hole. That doesn't make any sense. What's going on? She didn't know I was like killing people until I got back, and people were helping me download my equipment, get my rifles and stuff together. And some guys and a new guy who was just coming into the sniper section was like, dude, I heard you killed XYZ number. And she looked over at me and was like, this weird look like, what are you talking about?
You know? Didn't kill
anybody.
Yeah,
basically that. Yeah. That's exactly, yeah. And we were riding down this it goes into Ranger Battalion, 3rd Ranger Battalion at Fort Benning, Georgia. And my old team leader, he was a Mexican guy, one of the best team leaders I ever had. And he had this red pickup truck, and he rolls up beside me, and Jess is in the passenger seat. He rolls up in his pickup truck, and he's like, dude, Reaper, I heard you killed her. And she does.
She's like, you got some motherfucking explaining to do.
That's where she first got that idea of, yeah, okay, I've killed people.
I'm married to the Reaper now.
Yeah, but I never talked to her about it. I never, even when she knew about it and she did ask, I was just like, I mean, I guess I killed some people, but I never had I didn't want to tell her how many. And I didn't want to tell her that, this wasn't my first rodeo. Like, I've probably killed more people as a machine gunner than I did as a sniper by far.
Really?
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you couldn't confirm all those because it's like there's so much shit going on?
Yeah, and it was just normal. Like, your average guy in battalion has got a lot of killing under his belt. It's just, as a sniper, it's extremely personal and rare. But yeah, guys are, it's easy to kill someone in battalion, Ranger Battalion. At the time of war, it was easy. You're always in the fight, always in the fight.
How soon after getting back did you make the official decision to leave?
Right after. My contract was up in October. We got back in July. Yeah, cop died July 18th. We got back. So around August is when I got back. And my contract was up that following year in October, 2010. So I made that decision around that time, August, September timeframe in 2009, that I was not going to re-up and redo that contract when it came that time in 2010. It's like, nope. And then, yeah, that was just, and because of the way the schedule was lined up, I was going to miss out on that next deployment because it would have overlapped my contract. So I just missed that deployment. If I would have re-enlisted and signed up for additional time, I would have made that, but there was no way.
Game wasn't in you for that.
I was done, man. Mentally checked out. I felt like I had lived the dream that I thought I wanted to live. Felt like I accomplished it. Do I wish I could have gone back and done more stuff? Yeah.
Well, you did get into private contracting, right?
Yeah. But it wasn't like Delta Force, you know? I didn't, I would have loved to, at a different time and era, throw my hat in for that. Do I think I would have made it? No. But it would have been cool to try out.
Why do you think you wouldn't have made it?
I'm not walking 40 miles, bro. For no one. for no one. No. I'm a 12-mile, 15-mile guy.
Okay.
But they're talking 40 in the mountains, and I'm just not doing that. No. It's not that important for me, Yeah, I got out, did contracting. So I remember the day I got out, man. We left the apartment complex, and I flicked off the apartment complex, and I flicked off Joe. I'm like, I'm never, ever coming back here. I hate Columbus, Georgia. I probably still do. I don't like Columbus, Georgia. But we hopped in a U-Haul truck. We had 2 German Shepherds and a U-Haul truck with all our stuff in it. And we drove down to San Antonio, Texas. Took a little bit over a day to get there. Got there, had to stay with my wife's mom for a few months. And
That's a while.
that's too long. That's why I went right back overseas to Iraq and picked up contracting. That's no joke. That's like one of the big reasons. So I was like, there was no other job really out there like that for me. So I said, I'm going to, pick up contracting. Took a shot at that, sent in my packet and got selected, went to the little training course and I believe it was in New Orleans.
Who'd you work for?
Triple Canopy.
Okay.
Believe it was they're out of not Langley, Harmon, Virginia, something like that.
Lake Harmony? Is that?
No,
No, it's New Jersey.
somewhere in it starts with an H, Virginia. I forget what it's called, but
All right,
it's
somewhere in
in Virginia. Went to their training facility out in Louisiana, New Orleans, somewhere around that area in Louisiana, and did it was WIPS, Worldwide Protection Services, diplomatic security.
Similar to Blackwater kind of deal.
Yep,
Yeah.
very similar. And took that route, passed, graduated, if you want to call it that. And within like a week or two after that class was over, I was on a plane to Baghdad, Iraq. But
What was that like now being on the private side versus
So
being in
fun.
the military?
so much, dude, you're so independent. It was the only time I got a chance to feel like I was I don't know, like I'm doing my own thing. I didn't have the micromanagement.
Yeah.
It was zero of that. It was just like, dude, this is your job. This is what you have to do. Be here at this time. This is the mission. Do it. Don't mess it up, and you get paid good,
Are you operating as a sniper in some capacities or
Yeah.
doing all different things?
I was not at starting off. Starting off, I was your basic, just private security, a part of a private security detail. I didn't hit the sniper or the designated marksman until way later into my contract. And you have to go to a training school out in Texas for it. They had one, I think, in Oklahoma at the time too. I didn't go to Oklahoma, but
Crazy they got to send the sniper named the Reaper to training school.
you learn a lot. You learn. It's different type of, not a different type of sniping. It's just, the people who you're protecting, they want to make sure that you, I guess, can shoot.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
could
a
shoot.
stack
Yeah,
of bodies
yeah,
that could
I could
probably
shoot.
attest to that.
I could shoot all right, and made it and got a chance to meet some cool people, do some really cool things.
You did this for a couple years?
Yeah, 2 years, and
Would you go there for like 4 weeks at a time, come back for 6 weeks, or were you just pretty much there most of the time?
that time it was 3 months on, 1 month off. So yeah, go over for 90 days, 100 days, come back for a month, spend time with the wife, go back over. And one day I was just like, the day I was supposed to leave to go back, we had just bought a house, and my wife, she's getting ready in the bathroom to take me to the airport to go back to Baghdad. And I remember laying on my back, I look up at her and just like, she's like, "Are you getting ready?" And I said, "Nope." She's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "I'm not going." And just like, "You serious? You're just not going to go?" I was like, "Yeah, just come get back in the bed. I'm tired." And she, no joke, got back in the bed and my phone started blowing up, ringing like, "Hey." Just didn't answer it. It said, "Hey, you can come back whenever." Like when I was up for it or whatever, I had an open invitation. I got back in contact with them to square things on my end, and everything was fine. And I ended up doing something else, not in Baghdad, but for them.
What was Baghdad like at that point? Because obviously you had been going over there before you stopped.
Way
Like,
different. Way different.
how so?
It's cleaner. less bombs being dropped. I wasn't getting shot at like that. The girls dressed different. Like, it was the first time I ever saw girls in like shorts. They were wearing shorts over there and stuff. And I guess they had picked up on some of the American culture.
This is like 2, 3, 4 years before ISIS, though. That almost sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, there were girls in shorts over there. It was not like, it was far different from the Iraq that I saw, Baghdad that I saw. It was, they had like clubs and stuff. Yeah, clubs and...
Clubs in Iraq.
Yeah, it was a pretty like big club.
They bumping like Soldier Boy? Like,
I honestly have no idea what they were playing. A few of the guys that I was on the contract with on my team, they visited the club over there. Then, you know, we had mainly just it wasn't like war torn. It wasn't bad. Like Baghdad, at least, wasn't bad. There were places that were like sketch, and you back of your hairs on the back of your neck stood up. But for the most part, it wasn't like it was just far different from what I experienced in, you know, after the invasion and during some of the height of the war in Iraq. It was way different.
Were you working with mostly guys who had been like special forces?
Everybody.
It was everybody.
I was like the only Ranger for a while there. I was the only Ranger on my team. We had 2 Green Berets. My team lead was a Green Beret of like 20 years or something like that. We had a Marine Force recon guy and 2 SEALs. No, it was an Army guy. No, it was 2 SEALs, 2 Green Berets, and we had some MARSOC dudes. But I was the only Ranger. And we had a Delta Force guy. He wasn't on my team, though. There was a couple of Delta Force guys on the camp that I stayed at. They call it the man camp. But it was a interesting group of guys. Learned a lot. And you learn your place as far as like the totem pole of Spec Ops. And like coming from the Ranger Battalion, you feel that Ranger Battalion's the pinnacle, you know? Then you get around these guys and you're like, hell no. They're extremely smart when it comes to planning and war fighting. Yeah, extremely smart. Like samurais.
I mean, the thing is though, like you left, but you essentially got right back in. You're doing something different, but you're back in the game. You're back in the action. You never really stopped. Like, at least though, when you were going in under diplomatic protection, it sounds like the stakes are lower. You're less likely to run into shit. Obviously, it wasn't like Afghanistan in 2009.
No.
But like, where are you emotionally while this is happening? Because it's like, since you were 18, all you've ever known is the Army, and more specifically, all you've ever known is war. Yeah.
Emotionally, I hit it really well. I think that. You maybe couldn't tell that I was not feeling so well emotionally, but deep down inside, I hated every minute of it. I loved it, but I hated it at the same time because I just wanted to be home. You know, I hated the way Iraq looked. I hated the way Middle East looked. Everything was just brown, sand colored. Everything it had a certain smell to it. You come back to America and it smelled better. You know, I could go to Walmart or I could go here, and it was just a better time. I could drink whenever I wanted to. If I wanted to have a drink, or I could do this, or I could whatever. And I at least had my wife. But being over there, you're just around like 50 dudes all the time. And unless you're, nothing wrong with it, but unless you're broke, your wrist broke, you know, it's not really, unless your wrist broke. I mean, it's not really what I don't want to be around 50 dudes, you know, every day, all day. It gets old after a while.
So when you made the decision to get out, staying in bed, did you have any idea what you wanted to do at that point?
No, just stay in bed at that point. that was it. That was it. Like I knew I had to do something, but I just didn't want to do the Middle East thing, the war thing anymore. I knew that. That's all I knew. That's all I knew. So like for a while, I just literally stayed in bed. Not for a while, it was like for a couple of days. And it felt good to just not wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and put this on and go do this. It felt good.
A little bit of freedom.
Yeah. But then it became too much freedom, to where you have too much time on your hands, to where you think too much. And that's where it just went downhill from there. Of
How so?
the whole, everything, the trauma, I guess, the trauma that occurred overseas finally had time to settle in. Yeah. Big time. I think that was the the one thing that I think I take away from that portion, that time of my life, was giving myself time to actually not do anything was good. It allowed me to acknowledge things that I had wrong with me, but bad in the fact that, well, I have to deal with this now, and now I'm starting to relive things and feel certain things that I hadn't felt before, or taken the time to even feel. That was the trade-off of it. But yeah.
You getting angry at all? Because like you're coming back into regular society, which is like,
yeah.
I mean, you want to talk night and day.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. A lot of that. Yeah. A lot of self-medicating to try to figure something out. A lot of that.
Like alcohol?
You name it. Well, not you name it. It was alcohol and weed, yeah. And at one time mushrooms, but just every day.
That's a little different.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Different. But every day was alcohol, at least alcohol. Every day from the moment I woke up to...
From the moment you woke up?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I didn't drink water for like a year, dude. That's what it felt like. It was just Jack Coke and Bud Light or Coronas. From like a 40-pack and a bottle of Jack would be like the routine. If I couldn't finish the 40 of beer, I'd finish like half of it easily. And like half the bottle of Jack I would finish. And that's every day. Did that for about a year too.
How'd your wife handle that?
She barely hung on, man. Barely hung on. Like, I wasn't like I was violent at times towards other people, yeah. And like, she did bring her friends over one time, and that was a bad call. I think it scared a bunch of people that day. And then like with my family, like I don't talk to my family anymore. And
at that point?
Still don't, because of that time. Yeah.
You still don't talk with your family?
No. Because of an incident that it was a little bit, I was drinking. And the other part was disrespect from somebody in my family that I just don't do disrespect well. And it just got stupid on my behalf. And yeah, it just, I think at that point, people just saw who I had became from the person I was before I left, and who I had became was different in that aspect. And I don't think that they necessarily liked that person. I didn't either, but it is who I was,
But it's easy for me to say on the outside, not being there, but at the same time, not to say like when you fuck up and do bad shit, you can always just write it off. But yeah, it's not like you went to fucking Costco for 7 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like many people out there listening have had different members of their family. It doesn't mean they had to be in the military or something like that, but like go through stuff and like you change as a person, and sometimes there's very negative shit that happens. But maybe this is just how I operate. I'm more like, okay, however I can help them, guide them through this situation, I will. Not step on toes where I can't, but like they're dealing with something. It's not them at this time.
Exactly.
Eventually, they'll get back to being them. But it sounds like that's obviously you weren't like given that opportunity.
No.
That's a shame.
It can be if you think about it. Yeah, I agree.
But your wife hung with you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Never Sounds like swayed. You got an awesome marriage.
Yeah, never swayed. She's known me since first grade, man. So she's seen all the changes, from the little kid who used to want to be in karate, to who I was and who I am today. She's seen all the changes. So for the good and the bad, but she's always been there. It's like the only consistent thing in life since then has been her. Yeah, the only form of consistency. That's the only one.
So you don't talk with your parents?
Not really. No. No. Like when I was overseas, I would have to be told like, "Hey, Irv, it's Mother's Day. Call your mom." You know, I would call out of the like 3 months. I would maybe call once or twice. Just didn't. I don't know, man. It's weird. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. You know, just don't like. I'm not like a really big talker. I can talk, like I am now, obviously, but I'm like low key a loner. Not a loner. I'm just a very quiet person.
Yeah.
Naturally, just a quiet person. There's a lot going on up here. Like I'm probably in a club right now in my head, but on the outside, you just get the, quiet me. Yeah. But I don't know.
Well, you said earlier, like your parents were always, they kept to themselves. Like they didn't divulge a lot of stuff. I wonder if that's like kind of, and you're a quieter, more introverted guy too. And I can tell that talking with you today. Like you do great when you're going, but I can tell like, you gotta get you there, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Yeah.
But like, maybe that's like you have a similar gene to them in a way, but it manifests a little differently, and that crosses the chords with you guys.
I agree. It very much so, man. Very much so. It's just, I don't know. We're all different,
Yeah.
It just is, a world full of talkative people. I think I'd not want to be here. You gotta have the offsets. Yeah. Gotta have the offset.
How did you get through that period though? Like where you
Yeah.
Because you're sober now, right?
Yeah.
I
smoke CBD. That's about it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But point being, you're not facing Calico Jack to start off your mornings.
No. Hell no. Not anymore. My liver couldn't take it, man. No. I've had enough. Had enough of Jack, man. Enough Jack. Big time. My wife, man, I would say is like it's like literally the only thing that's been like the consistency and and now my son, it's like I can't have him see that like that.
Right.
So that's like the icing on the cake, cherry on top for me is I can't the stories I want left behind. Like when he tells a story about dad, I don't want his stories to be like, man, dad was just a weird drunken dude,
Yeah.
I can't have that, when I go. At least that, Dad might be a weird dude, but at least he wasn't a drunk weird dude.
Right. Right. Way better.
Yeah.
In that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But you just kind of stopped. It sounds like you just kind of stopped doing that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like
took a while.
Cold turkey?
No, I went to AA one time and I didn't like that. Quit that. The second time when I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this again, I just went cold turkey. But then I almost had to go to the hospital and do that whole thing of like,
oh yeah, because your
withdrawal.
body's like,
Yeah, it
shit.
was sick, man. It was sick. Wife took care of me, and it really wasn't that bad,
That's good.
Wasn't that bad.
That's a good story. A lot of people obviously have trouble with that when they get that dependent too.
I worked out, start working out more, and that was like a big game changer too.
Oh yeah.
Fill the time, like the time where I wasn't drinking, I was working out or something, I didn't have to worry so much about, waking up from sweats and like, man, I need a beer or a shot to stop the shakes,
Ain't no better medicine than working out.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
greatest thing ever.
Yep. Hell yeah.
I'm glad you got through that too. I mean, you seem like you're in a really good place. Too,
oh yeah.
When I talk with you.
Yeah, I'm like a million times better than from when I first got out. But I don't think anybody's ever gonna be
right.
Yeah, where we want to be. I don't know. Some people are where we want to be, but I think there's always room for like some improvement all the time.
You can't delete the tape in your head.
There you go.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just how you do an amazing job now of managing that and
Yeah.
But everyone at different, there's levels to this shit.
Exactly,
You gotta deal
yeah,
with it.
yeah.
And you're at a high level, obviously, because you saw things a lot of us wouldn't. But, you know, it's when I talk with the guys like you who were also spending significant time in Afghanistan, you know, the 500-pound elephant in the room, as well as that it didn't end well long after you were already gone from there. But you know, we all get those images in our head of August 2021 with the Taliban back taking control. They're using our fucking weapons that we left there. Obviously, the pullout was very fucked up. But, like, you know, I would never want to look at it like guys who go over there bravely, like, die in vain or anything like that.
Yeah.
But is there ever, you know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful with that either, but is there ever the thought of, like, what the fuck were we even doing?
That's the only thought, man. That's the only thought. Like, what was it for? Yeah, I get what you're saying, like not dying in vain, but I mean, there's only so many words you can, I guess, pick and choose. I just know that that's like the only question that's left for me is, what was this all for anyways then? You know, if you're just going to give them this stuff, we just leave the way we left. Like, goodbye, good luck. Here's some money and here's some guns and equipment. And we're still supplying them with millions of dollars to the Taliban, like weekly, monthly. It's like, you know, I guess. What was this for? You know, I think I know. It wasn't, I don't know.
What do you think?
It's money, just money.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Some families at higher positions of power just needed more money. And that was one way to go about it. Probably the easiest way financially for them. And they sent us out there. Made them rich, you know. That's what I think. Which, what can you do, man? You know?
Yeah, I try not to be cynical about the world, but sometimes there's certain things you can't help it with.
Thank you. Yep. And it's noticeable. Yeah. What we went over there for. None of it makes any sense. The only thing that does make sense is that, this is for money.
Right.
That's it.
Well, when guys like you come on to different podcasts like this and put it on historical record and show people what happened and show people what, you know, the highest trained people were sent in there to do and the good job they did doing that, I think that's important for, you know, the kids that watch this 30, 40 years from now and wonder, oh, why were we there and things like that. It's, you blame like I said earlier, you blame the people in the suits and offices who don't give a fuck about anything but themselves. Yeah. And that's fine, but you separate that from what happens out there, and it's a real honor to hear that type of historical record in the studio every time it happens. So I really appreciate you.
All good.
You sharing it today, man.
Thank you.
This was awesome, brother. So
I appreciate it.
We're gonna have to do this again.
It's awesome being here, man.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It would probably be pretty cool to see you and Danny Hall in the studio together.
Let's do it, man.
I think I got to make that happen in the spring.
Let's do it, yeah.
All right.
In this lifetime.
Yeah, let's talk about that. But Nick, thank you, brother.
Hey, all
fucking
good,
amazing
man.
Story.
All good.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dorey Podcast or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dorey Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you.